Imagine this. You are locked inside a metal shipping container in the middle of a scorching desert. The sun turns your prison into an oven with temperatures so high it feels like your skin is melting. There's no ventilation, no water, and no mercy. Now imagine enduring this not for days but for months, sometimes even years. This is not a story from a dystopian novel. This is Eritrea, where opposing the government is punished with unthinkable cruelty. In Eritrea, objecting the regime of President Isaias is considered an act of treason. People who dare to speak out, question authority, or even refuse to comply with the country's indefinite national service are not just silenced, they are broken. Detainees are often tortured, humiliated, and forced into harsh labor camps. Families are left wondering, sometimes for decades, where their loved ones are, if they are even alive. The horrors don't stop there. Eritrea's grip extends beyond its borders. Many of those who try to flee are hunted down or face extortion by government operatives in the diaspora. And yet, every year, tens of thousands of Eritreans risk their lives to escape. They cross deserts, dodge armed patrols, and even venture into treacherous Mediterranean just for a chance to breathe free air. This relentless exodus has earned Eritrea a grim title, the world's fastest emptying country. By 2024, around 900,000 Eritreans had fled their homeland. To understand the scale of this, consider Eritrea's population, only 3.7 million. That means nearly 1 in 4 Eritreans, almost 24.32%, have left the country. Families are torn apart, communities hollowed out, and schools emptied as the youth flee all around. As per last year alone, thousands fled to the neighboring countries, while many others continued their perilous journeys to Europe. Eritrea consistently ranks among the top nationalities seeking asylum worldwide, despite its small population. Eritrea is one of the most fascinating yet mysterious countries in the world. A place where history, geopolitics, and authoritarian rule collide to create a nation that feels frozen in time. Often dubbed Africa's North Korea, Eritrea stands as a symbol of extreme isolation, militarization, and an unrelenting grip on its people. But how did this country become one of the most secretive and repressive regimes in modern history? Let's peel back the layers of Eritrea's story. The journey begins in the 19th century when the strategic location of the Red Sea caught the world's attention. In 1869, the Suez Canal turned the area into a global trade hub, and with that, Assab, now a neglected Eritrean port, became a hotspot for colonial ambition. Italians, seeing an opportunity, purchased Assab just before the canal opened, laying the foundation for what would become Italian Eritrea. Under Italian colonial rule, Eritrea saw significant infrastructural development, but also has racial segregation and forced labor. The scars of this colonial past, particularly the militarization and exploitation of its people, would later shape the Eritrean identity. Eritrea's troubles didn't end with the fall of the Italian rule. After the World War II, the British took control, stripping the colony of resources before passing it to Ethiopia in 1952 under a UN-mandated federation. This fragile agreement was short-lived. By 1962, Ethiopia had annexed Eritrea entirely, dissolving its autonomy and sparking one of Africa's longest and bloodiest liberation struggles. For 3 decades, Eritreans fought a grueling guerrilla war against Ethiopian rule, a struggle fueled by dreams of freedom and self-determination. When independence finally came in 1991, the nation erupted in joy, celebrating what seemed like the dawn of a new era. But that joy was short-lived. The very leaders who had fought for liberation quickly turned out to be the architects of oppression, using the guise of national security to cement their power and silence opposition. All this brings us to Isaias Afwerki, a man who ruled Ethiopia with an iron fist since independence. That is 100% of the time since independence. Hailed at first as a hero for the liberation movement, Isaias soon revealed a much darker side. Elections were promised but never held. Critics and dissenters were ruthlessly silenced. Under his regime, Eritrea became a one-party state where the media is fully controlled, and journalists who dared to question authority vanished into thin air, never to be seen or heard from again. Isaias' reign turned the dream of freedom into a nightmare of authoritarian control. But perhaps the most damaging aspect of Isaias' rule is Eritrea's infamous National Service Program, initially introduced as an 18-month conscription to rebuild the nation. It has evolved into a system of indefinite servitude. Young Eritreans are drafted into the military or forced into state-run labor projects, working for small pay in conditions likened to modern slavery. Isaias' reign has no end in sight, while most nations change leaders to bring in new ideas and hope. Eritrea has known only one man, one voice, and one oppressive hand for its entire existence as an independent nation. The dream of freedom that so many fought and died for has been replaced by the harsh reality of authoritarian rule. Eritrea's militarization is staggering, with one of the highest portions of military personnel per capita in the world. The country operates like a giant military camp. Every aspect of life revolves around serving the nation, from grueling military drills to forced labor in industries like mining, agriculture, and construction. The state's control is inescapable. But what truly makes Eritrea stand out in terms of oppression is the endless national service. While the official term of military service is supposed to be 18 months, most Eritreans are forced to serve for decades. Many are stuck in this system until they are 40 years old or older, essentially spending almost the entire working life working for the government, whether they want it or not. Private businesses are severely restricted, making entrepreneurship nearly impossible. As a result, Eritrea's economy depends on remittances from Eritreans who have fled the country. Ironically, many of those people are punished for trying to escape the harsh reality at home. The toll on ordinary people is heartbreaking. Families are torn apart as sons and daughters are taken away for years, sometimes never returning. Dreams of going to school, starting a career, or building a business are crushed because the government controls everything. Many young Eritreans see no future in their own country and decide to flee, even if it means risking death. Those who escape tell stories of dangerous journey through burning deserts, rough seas, and heavily guarded borders. But even when they make it out, their families back home are punished for their escape. The government fines, threatens, or even arrests parents for their children's decision to leave, making sure its control stretches far beyond Eritrea's borders. Eritrea is often called Africa's North Korea. While the comparison might seem too extreme, there are striking similarities between the two. Both countries are ruled by strict authoritarian governments that demand total loyalty from their people. These governments control nearly every part of life, using fear and propaganda to keep everyone in line. However, Eritrea's form of isolation is different. Unlike North Korea, Eritrea doesn't have nuclear weapons or pose a global military threat. Instead, it controls its people in a quieter but very oppressive way. Some Eritreans can see the outside world through limited TV or internet access, but this is strictly controlled. For many, this small glimpse of freedom makes them long for a life outside the country's tight grip. Freedom of press is non-existent, and the government decides what the people can see or hear. In both Eritrea and North Korea, people who speak out are punished, and human rights abuses like forced labor and arbitrary detention are common. But Eritrea and North Korea are not exactly the same. Eritrea has a more market-based economy, even though it is still controlled by the states. North Korea, on the other hand, relies on its judge system, a self-reliant model where the government controls everything. Eritrea also has some, not many, but some private businesses, while North Korea's economy is much more rigid. Eritrea's relationship with other countries are also different. While Eritrea has faced sanctions, it still maintains diplomatic relations with some African countries and Middle Eastern nations. North Korea, however, is isolated and often confrontational with the rest of the world. Comparing Eritrea to North Korea is not entirely wrong, but it does not tell the full story. If you think Eritrea's situation is dire, the harsh reality is that many African nations are facing similar struggles, but for different reasons. For example, in Why is Kenya's Economy Such a Mess?, we break down how economic mismanagement, corruption, and political instability are holding Kenya back, despite its potential. Watch the video now to see how these issues tie into a longer narrative across the continent. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button for more videos.